Hey guys, welcome back to the Junk Food Zombie channel. Today I got a quick video for you continuing my bullet casting series that I started last year before the winter hit, so it's been quite a while since I've worked on it, so I wanted to get back to that. A lot of people get their lead from different sources for casting bullets. Some people buy their lead online along with the other metals that they use to mix with it. Some people use wheel weights because they're readily available. You can go to most tire places and they will sell you a bucket of wheel weights that they've taken off of old wheels, or they might even give it to you for nothing depending on how nice you are or how good a rapport you have with them if you bought tires from them in the past. One place near here gives me some for free, another place gives me some for about $30 for a 10-gallon bucket. So that works. However you get them, it's inexpensive. Now, you'll want to wear gloves. These are latex. Nitrile probably works a little bit better, but you want some gloves because not only are you dealing with lead, which in this case is actually probably less of a problem, but all the dirt that you see on these, or a lot of the dirt you see on these, is actually brake dust. And brake components like brake pads tend to have asbestos in them, and you don't want asbestos all over your hands. You might be touching your face. You should try not to touch your face, but hey, it happens. So you want to keep the asbestos away from you, and you are dealing with lead as well. So your gloves, and there's three other things you can use. There's magnets. You'll want to get a decently strong magnet. This one's okay, but it's about the only thing I had with me. This isn't extremely helpful. I'll tell you what you can use it for. Hardened bolt. This is a grade 5. Grade 8 would work better. They're generally tend to be a gold in color, and they'll have 5 of these hash marks on them instead of 3. Most important thing you'll need is a pair of diagonal cutters or dikes, depending on what you want to call them. And this is how they work. Obviously the magnet will pick up on steel, and you don't want steel weights, but steel weights will stick to the magnet. So you know that that's a steel weight. Now you do not want to just take a big magnet and swipe it around your wheel weights, because all of these clips are steel. So the clips are going to get picked up by a magnet. So you need to put the magnet on the end of the weight. That's how you tell which weights are steel and they're no good. But like I said, steel isn't that big a threat. It's these bad boys right here that we don't like. These are zinc. Now this will not stick to a magnet because zinc is not magnetic. Problem is, this is not lead, and this can ruin your lead when you melt it. So you do not want these in here. So the magnet will help you separate steel weights, but that's it. It won't help you with the zinc. And since the steel weights won't melt at near the temperature that lead does, they're not as much of a threat. They'll just kind of float on top once all your lead melts. But zinc doesn't melt at a much higher temperature than your lead wheel weights. So these can melt into your lead, and if they do, it's ruined. It's worthless. So you got to throw out everything you've melted. You could have 20 pounds of lead, and it's worthless. It's garbage. They do have writing on them, and some of the zinc ones will say ZN on them. So if it says ZN, that's zinc. You know it's zinc. This one as well, ZN. But they don't all have that. For instance, this one just says 30 on it as a weight on there. I'm assuming that that's a weight measure, that they use. This one's 35. Now those you don't know, so that doesn't help. But some of them are labeled zinc. Some of the steel ones are labeled with an Fe. Fe is iron, for like a ferrous metal, which is would be magnetic. So these are all steel. These all stick to the magnet. So these are all steel. That's how you can tell with a magnet. But like I said, they won't work with zinc. Your other way, that's more dependable, it requires your ears, is to take this hardened bolt. You take a lead weight. Now you hold it firmly in your hands. Don't just let it kind of sit loose. Hold it firmly in your hand. Same thing with the bolt, and tap it. You'll hear that sound. If you do the same thing with zinc, it has a much higher pitch. I'll try to do two right next to each other here. You have lead, without cutting my gloves open. Zinc. Much different sound, and steel will be the same way as the zinc. So you can do that and use your ears. Now, sometimes the lead, depending on the weight and how thin or thick it is, or how long or short it is, will sound more or less tinny, but the steel and the zinc both have a much higher pitch sound to them. I don't know how well it's going to come over across the camera, but it's pretty easy to tell. If you don't trust yourself with that, now that's going to work fast, because you can just pick up a weight and go, okay, that's not, okay, that's lead. But if you don't trust your ears, and they're not, there's not a huge difference, but you can hear it. If you don't trust yourself with that, you can use sound, and this may even be easier to hear. If you have like a piece of slate like this, or even some cement, if you have like a cement patio, like I have a cement patio here, you can drop them on the cement, or on this, say this is like I believe this is like a piece of slate. And you can drop them, and you will definitely hear a difference between lead and steel. It rings a little bit. The lead does not. Same thing with the zinc. You'll hear a difference. Now don't drop them on the steel clips. Hold them by the clips and drop them straight down. You can hear the difference. I'll do your zinc, your steel, and your lead. Zinc, steel, lead. All you hear sounds just kind of like the clip rattling a little bit. So there's a big difference. It's actually a little easier to hear doing that than it is with the bolt, but it's easy and quick to sit there with a bolt. So that works. That's very reliable. The most reliable thing you can do is your cutters. Now, the difference in hardness between the lead and these two is tremendous. You take a zinc wheel weight and you put your cutters on there and squeeze really hard. You're going to leave a little dent in there, but you got to squeeze really hard to leave that dent. You are not going to do more than dent that. Same thing with the steel. You can try as hard as you want. You are not going to cut this. You're just going to leave a little mark. With lead, and in this case lead with a little bit of what looks like bird poop, big difference. Lead will cut very easily. It's very soft. Now you don't have to cut it. You can just take the tips and just go like that, and it'll just blast right through. Very easy, and the lead will bend and cut very easily. It's so easy to cut. So if you have a large container like this, you can just take I have a bucket of weights, or a box in this case, and I have two smaller buckets, and I'll just take them out and test them. Okay, that one's lead. I'll dump it in the lead bucket. I'll take the next one. That one's lead. I'll put that in the lead bucket. I can feel it because it's very soft. And I just go through, and every time I get one that's not lead, I throw it in the other bucket. And I make a big bucket, or hopefully not a big bucket. I think I've done 150 pounds of these wheel weights, and I only picked up a handful or two of steel and zinc weights. So maybe not even enough to fill two hands. I'm in Tennessee. We still have a lot of lead wheel weights. If you're in California, you might have a handful of lead wheel weights per bucket. So, like I said, in California or other places where they've banned lead wheel weights, as far as I know, to correct me if I'm wrong, but they've banned lead wheel weights in California as far as using the new wheel weights on cars, then your options are limited. But in a lot of states, they still use lead wheel weights. They're cheap and they work very well because they're much smaller for the same amount of weight. These tend to have to be much larger to make the same amount of weight. So lead wheel weights are very good for what they are. They're good for what they do. But that's about it. That's the easiest way to do it, or the most dependable way is with this. You cannot make a mistake with this. Once you try to cut it, you know if it's lead or not, because you cannot cut steel or zinc with these unless you are the Incredible Hulk. And I'm a pretty big guy and I can't do it. So that's about it. So whichever way works for you. The bolt is probably the quickest. This is not too slow. This is almost as fast. But what will happen is if you have a box like this, or especially in my case, I had a 3-gallon bucket, you'll be sitting out there for a couple hours. Your hand will start to hurt from squeezing pliers so many times. So if you've got a box and you're just going to go through it, this is probably going to be your best bet. If you got large quantities, you might want to go with the bolts. It'll be a little faster and it won't hurt to just tap on them. But this is by far your most reliable way. So I hope that works out for you guys. I hope it helps you. We're going to do some videos on making ingots. So I did a video on me making ingots, but I'm going to show you how to do it and kind of give you a little step-by-step process. So look forward to that, and I will catch you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.
probably gonna end it.
La cucaracha, la cucaracha.